Hello everybody, it's Foo here, and today I've got another video for you. Today we will be talking about Blunder Policy, one of the new items added in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and this one's really interesting because it's kind of high risk, high reward, and you can make some really interesting Pokemon sets using it, and I've got a ton to show you. But first, I want to talk about what Blunder Policy is and where you can find it. So the Blunder Policy is a single-use held item, and you can find it at the Battle Tower by spending your battle points. You can get one. What it does is, if you miss an attack, your speed is boosted by 2 stages, which is really interesting. So it kind of rewards you for missing attacks. Just quickly to note, there are some scenarios where Blunder Policy doesn't activate. So it doesn't activate with one-hit KO moves that miss, so that doesn't work. It doesn't work if you attack into a protect, because again that doesn't count as missing. You actually hit, but you just hit into a protect. But interestingly, if you attack an opponent in a semi-invulnerable state, so if they're using Dig or Phantom Force or Fly for example, and you miss them during that, Blunder Policy won't activate then either, which is really weird. I guess it's because Blunder Policy only activates if you have a chance to hit the opponent and you miss, whereas in those cases you have no chance of hitting the opponent. So you get this speed boost plus 2 speed if you miss an attack, and that's a really interesting effect because it's so unpredictable and can lead to some really crazy situations in battle when you're hoping to miss attacks. So which Pokemon benefit most from this? Well, I think that Pokemon that can't already boost their speed stat will really benefit. A lot of Pokemon now get access to agility, for example, and that's a much more reliable way of boosting your speed. But if you have no other way of boosting your speed, then you could try the Blunder Policy. Also, boosting speed is definitely something that Pokemon that are much more offensive prefer because they can then sweep the opponent, whereas defensive Pokemon don't benefit as much. And the last thing to consider is which moves to use it with, and I definitely think that moves with as lower accuracy as possible that are actually very good moves are the best ones to use this with, because that means you have this like high risk, high reward thing, and you will more reliably activate your Blunder Policy despite less reliably hitting the opponent. It's a really weird way of thinking for this item. But a really good example, I think, is actually Golurk, and I love this set. I think it demonstrates exactly what the Blunder Policy is all about. So Golurk can no longer boost its speed. It used to get Rock Polish, but it doesn't in this generation. It can boost it with Dynamaxing, but this is a really interesting way of using Golurk. You haven't seen much use in competitive play this generation. It doesn't get no guard, so you can't fire off those dynamic punches. Apart from with this set, that's exactly what you want to do, but with the Iron Fist ability, because it means that you get that 50% accurate dynamic punch. It's a relatively powerful fighting type move, and it's boosted by Iron Fist. So if you hit, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, and you confuse the opponent. That's pretty good. So it's not a bad thing to hit the opponent and try to confuse them. If you do confuse them, you can go for dynamic punch again. Really what you want to do is miss your first dynamic punch, because then you can outspeed the opponent and do all sorts of damage. But if you do happen to hit your dynamic punch, it's not the end of the world, because that's still a really good move. You've then got Golurk's great coverage in Earthquake, and a ghost type move, either Shadow Punch, which is benefits from the Iron Fist, or Phantom Force, and also Ice Punch. That's really great coverage along with Dynamic Punch. And if you want to Dynamax Golurk, Dynamic Punch also gives Golurk a way of boosting its attack stat. So Blunder Policy boosts its speed, Dynamax and Max Knuckle boosts its attack. That means that Golurk can now sweep really well, despite only having 4 attacking moves, which is really cool. It's important to note as well that Golurk can be adamant with max speed. After plus 2 speed, it will outspeed Dracozolt, so that is really nice. You don't need to run Jolly. This Pokemon can be as powerful as possible before activating that Blunder Policy. This is definitely one of my favourite Blunder Policy sets, and I think it shows that actually the less accurate the move is, the more reliable it is for a Blunder Policy set. Another move that I like to use is Inferno, and I think Chandelure is a really great user of this. So Chandelure, again, can boost its speed with Flame Charge, but using this strategy, you can actually use the move Inferno, which is a very powerful fire type move. It's really inaccurate, but if you hit, you always burn the opponent. Coming off Chandelure, if you hit an Inferno, you do tons of damage. Sometimes you just one-hit KO opponents. If they survive and they're burned, then they will do less physical damage to you, so you get another chance to activate your Blunder policy the following turn with another Inferno. I think that Chandelure doesn't need too much extra coverage because Ghost and Fire is great, so I tend to run Calm Mind with Flamethrower as a backup fire move that always hits. But if you want, you can always run Energy Ball instead of Flamethrower. So these two Pokemon showcase really powerful inaccurate moves that can help you activate the Blunder policy, but other high risk, high reward moves that could be used with the Blunder policy are sleep-inducing moves, and specifically Sing is really a great example here because it's only 55% accurate, so it does miss relatively frequently, but if you hit it, then the opponent goes to sleep, so you've got more chances to set up, which is fantastic. And a great user of this, I think, is Clefable. It's got a relatively good special attack stat. It can't boost its speed stat any other way. Moonblast hits really hard. You can have Flamethrower on there for some really nice coverage. Alternative coverage is obviously available too. And you can go for Calm Mind. So if you do hit a Sing, you can either go for more Sings to try and miss and get that Blunder policy, or you can just start setting up Calm Minds because Clefable is very scary with those Calm Minds up. Alternatively, Calm Mind can be different coverage too, but Clefable is looking pretty cool with this Blunder policy. I don't think many people will see it coming with the Sing. Another relatively inaccurate sleep-inducing move is Hypnosis, although this actually has base 70 accuracy, so you will be hitting more frequently than not hitting. But that's no bad thing because putting the opponent to sleep is always good. And a great user of this is Gallade. So Gallade, a very powerful Pokemon. It also gets Sword Stance. So with Hypnosis and Sword Stance, you run Close Combat and Knockoff or Zen Headbutt. That's pretty good coverage, and just because it's so powerful and has the ability to put the opponent to sleep, this set is really threatening, and again, a lot of people won't see it coming. Gallade isn't known to be a sleep inducer. If you sleep induce them, that's great, but if you get the +2 speed, Gallade is a very big threat in terms of sweeping through your opponents. So I really like this set. You do have to watch out for fairies if you're running Knockoff. You can alternatively run Zen Headbutt as your coverage move, but then Psychic type resists both your moves. But yeah, really cool Pokemon. Now, after the powerful moves and the sleep-inducing moves, I didn't know if there was much else to consider for using Blunder policy until I thought about Hustle Pokemon. Now, you've got common examples like Flapple and Durant, but both of them have really nice ways of boosting their speed. You've got Dragon Dance for Flapple and Agility for Durant, but there is one that really would appreciate a speed boost and can't get it other than Dynamaxing, and that is Dracozolt. So Dracozolt has the Bolt Beak move, which is a really powerful move that doubles in power if you outspeed the opponent. So obviously Dracozolt wants to be as fast as possible, but it can't boost its speed unless it Dynamaxes, and if it Dynamaxes, it can't use Bolt Beak because it turns into Max Lightning. So you're in a bit of a conundrum here, but you do have the Hustle ability, meaning that your attacks are less accurate, so you could use the Blunder policy. But I think there's a big caveat here, because Hustle actually only reduces your accuracy to 80%, meaning that you've only got a 1 in 5 chance of getting that speed boost. And so I think that the best way to use Dracozolt with the Blunder policy is to give it a more inaccurate move like Dragon Rush. Dragon Rush is a very powerful dragon type move. It's got base 75 accuracy, meaning that when you pair that up with Hustle, you get around a base 60 accuracy, which is much better with the Blunder policy because you will more reliably miss, which seems strange to say, but you do really want to get that speed boost because then Bolt Beak is just going to decimate your opponent's team. You'll outspeed them, it will be double power, and it will get the Hustle boost. That is crazy. So this Pokemon is really interesting with the Blunder policy as you're using Bolt Beak and then Dragon Rush. Really interesting moves in combination with the Blunder policy, and I really think that you should try it out because it's a very fun set. On the topic of the fossil Pokemon with both Bolt Beak and Vicious Rend, I think that Dracovish is just so powerful. Choice Scarf and Choice Band will always be the best item for it to run. But in terms of Arctozolt and Arctovish, these two both have access to Stab Blizzard. Blizzard can do pretty good damage, but it also has that 70 accuracy, which is quite good for trying to activate the Blunder policy. And then they can go for their Bolt Beak or their Fishious Rend, respectively. But these two can actually more reliably activate the Blunder policy if it's used in doubles, because you're attacking both of the opponent's Pokemon, and if you miss one of them, then the Blunder policy will activate. So you can actually get it to activate relatively frequently, and then you'll be much faster and can use your Bolt Beak or your Fishious Rend. So those two are really cool too. I really like Arctivision, so it's neat that it can do something like this. So those are, I think, the Pokemon that benefit most from the Blunder policy, but please let me know your ideas in the comment section below, because I think this is a it's quite a gimmicky item. You have to rely on luck a lot, and the luck sometimes is actually missing attacks. You hope to miss attacks. It's a really weird way of thinking. That's going to be all from me today. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It helps my channel and lets me know what you want to see more of, and subscribe if you want to see more. I've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.